So I got this fragrance on eBay, but I'm going to return it. Why? I'm going to tell you later. But I thought, since I've got it, why not make a review and tell you my opinion about my first encounter with this brand. Now, the name of the fragrance is Sin Poetry, but the name of the brand is a bit confusing because on the bottle it says Testament Collection, as well as it says on the box, but on the bottom of the bottle it says sweetarabian.com. I will just go ahead and call them Testament or Testament Collection, because if you Google Testament fragrances, you will find their website, which is testamentcollection.com. Their website looks nice and professional, so everything is okay until you actually want to buy a fragrance. So I go to their main collection, which is the Icons, and I see that Sin Poetry retails for £200, but I don't know for how many mils. So I click on it only to find that they don't mention this. They only say that this bottle will last you for approximately 450 sprays. So I try adding the fragrance to the basket, because sometimes on some websites, when you go to and check the basket, it will actually show how much mils the bottle has. So I'm adding the fragrance to the basket, and then I get this message of exotic leather 15 ml has been added to your cart. And I was like, are you serious? I'm going to pay £200 for 15 ml? And then I checked their other collections, the one that's actually called Collectors, to see that they also have the 15 ml bottles, which includes the one that I have, and this one retails for £55. I'm gonna get back to this. Let's talk about the design of the bottle. So the bottle itself, I would say it's nothing spectacular. It actually reminds me of the bottles of Rituals fragrances. Feels pretty basic, doesn't feel like really high quality, doesn't feel cheap either. It's not too bad, but I've definitely seen way better looking and way better feeling bottles at this price range. So when I first applied this fragrance, I instantly knew that this brand is not worth it. At least not for me. Why? Because this fragrance, at least Sin Poetry, has the DNA of many Middle Eastern fragrances, the main one being Rugba by Latafa or 24 Gold. It's that DNA mixed with some modern synthetic ingredient which is used in some other niche fragrances. I have smelled that synthetic ingredient before in fragrances like Oud for Greatness by Initio, which makes the fragrance very harsh when smelled up close, but boosts its projection. So to my nose, this smelled like a sharp, harsh version of Rugba or 24 Gold, where those two are smooth. I like the DNA of Rugba and 24 Gold. I used to smell those two up close to test them, but this one is the kind of fragrance which I applied and I was rarely revisiting the arm because it smelled so harsh. It was only after a couple of hours that this settled down and I was able to actually smell the place where I sprayed it, but it was so close to the fragrances I've mentioned that my conclusion was already drawn. The longevity was great, but I'm getting the same longevity with other popular Middle Eastern fragrances, including the Rugba and including the 24 Gold. Maybe this has a bit better projection because of that synthetic ingredient, but still I wouldn't think it's worth that much difference in price. So now I'm getting back to my story of how I got this fragrance. So I got this on an auction on eBay for £20, but the user advertised it as 50 ml. So when I got this big box and pulled out this tiny fragrance, I was a bit disappointed because it definitely didn't have 50 ml. So I saw that it only had 15 ml and it was an extract de parfum. But even so, even for £20, this tiny bottle is not worth it, considering that it retails for £55. So you'd think I still got a great deal, but no, because for £20 I can buy like a 100 ml bottle of rock bottle. I think these new niche brands, because this is supposed to be a niche brand, are targeting uninformed people, people who only have smelled designer fragrances in their entire life. So when they're going to smell something like this, they're going to be impressed. But for someone who has already been through Middle Eastern fragrances, they would know that they have smelled this before in much cheaper fragrances. So be careful with these new niche brands which are using the same perfumes as the cheap ones, putting them in these fancy bottles and asking a huge ridiculous price for them. There are many new brands like this, but this is going to be a topic for another video. I'm not a professional in picking up actual ingredients to tell you how expensive they are, but I know I've smelled this before, and I know that you can get this smell for much cheaper. This was my take on Sin Poetry by Testament Collection. Until the next video, keep smelling great.